everyone. Welcome to this week's Talking with Our Traders. Today we are talking all things football. We have our NFL and college football experts here to answer the biggest questions heading into this weekend's matchups. I'm the host, Cindy Edwards, and with me today, as always, is Craig Mucklow, Vice President of Trading at Caesars Sportsbook.
Hello there.
Hi, Craig. Then we have Adam Pullen, Assistant Director of Trading here at Caesars.
How's it going, everyone?
And next up, college football expert Joey Fiesel.
Good to be here.
Happy to have you all. How have you guys been this week?
Been well. You?
I've been good, Ready for the weekend already. So let's get into it. Let's kick it off with our college football segment. Joey, how does the injury to Brock Bowers impact the odds on Georgia going forward?
Brock Bowers is a phenom, plain and simple. Whenever he's on the field, Georgia's chances of winning are going to be higher. But is one player on this Georgia team going to make that big of a difference? Probably not. This team is full of NFL players, just like they always are. Their path to the national championship is not going to be difficult. They got to bye this week, so they have time to figure out, how are they going to move forward with that Bowers? How are they going to replace that production? In their final 5 regular season games, they're going to be double-digit favorites in all but one. Tennessee. And we saw what Georgia did to Tennessee last year, and that was a much better Tennessee team. So no reason to panic here. We haven't made any adjustments, and until they show us that they are much worse without Brock Bowers, we're not going to.
It's a 4-week injury.
Yeah,
4 to 6.
Yeah, 4 to 6. So just rest up and get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right. So no impact.
No.
Perfect. Can you preview the game of the weekend, Penn State versus Ohio State? We have a fun little stat here. James Franklin is 0-9 against top 10 teams on the road while he's coached at Penn State. Does this change this weekend?
It certainly is the time to do it. You don't want that 0 on there for James Franklin. But, yeah, number 7, Penn State, travels to number 3, Ohio State. It's going to be a great battle of this trifecta of powerhouses in that Big Ten East. Line opened up Ohio State 5, kind of a dead number just to see where the bettors send us, and they're sending us the Penn State way. So that might be positive for our Penn State fans out there. Both of these teams, Ohio State certainly was tested. They went to Notre Dame. It was a very close game. Certainly could have left that with a loss. But Penn State really has yet to be challenged. Their best opponent was Iowa, and they had a little 0 on the Iowa scoreboard, 31-0. So this should be a good game. Penn State, this is their best quarterback they've had in years. They have a really stingy defense. Ohio State has yet to show us that they're the Ohio State of the past. So I'd probably lean Penn State here, but it'll certainly be a big game, big rivalry game.
Yeah, like Joey said, Ohio State hasn't looked like the offensive powerhouse that they had in years past. So they definitely have a big test, but we were saying it's a cheap number for Ohio State at home. Can't remember the last time, maybe it was some Michigan game.
Yeah, probably.
Memory, but they've been this low of a favorite, a 4-point favorite. So maybe that'll entice some people the Buckeyes' way. But, yeah, it should be a good game.
Judging by the last 2 games in Ohio, Penn were 12.5-point dogs and 10.5-point dogs. Lost by 11 and 9, so Joey's got the spread wrong by 1.5 points, but judging by it.
All right, well, we will see. Joey, is anyone catching Michael Penix Jr. for Heisman now that he beat Oregon?
Yeah, so this is the first time this year we've seen the Heisman Trophy favorite creep into minus money territory. It's Penix Trophy to lose. It all depends. Have we certainly seen in mid-October who the Heisman favorite and who's going to run away with it? No, this market is crazy. One mistake, you could be done. But yeah, he controls his destiny. Obviously, a good win against Oregon this weekend. So it's his to lose. But you have other quarterbacks. You have Drake May behind him. You have Dylan Gabriel for Oklahoma. There's plenty of time and plenty of room for someone else to make a case that they are better than Penix. But right now, it is Penix Trophy to lose.
Yeah, and it's basically related to how the team does. Obviously, Washington, the big win against Oregon. They have some big teams coming up. USC, maybe their defense is not so good, so we could have a field day there. They still play Utah, Oregon State, some decent teams. And like Joey said, there's some good players, on undefeated teams. Dylan Gabriel, Jordan Travis, J.J. McCarthy. There are a lot of players out there that can still make some noise. And if Washington maybe slips up, that's all it might take for one of those players to come in and overtake him. So you could say it's his to lose, but I wouldn't call it, it's not over.
It's
by
not
It's
any
not a
means.
done
Yeah,
deal.
plenty of time.
I'm going to give you some credit for once.
Oh, no. This ought to be good.
You did say there was going to be some difference in pricing. Now, a question for you then. What price would a Bo Nix been for the Heisman if Oregon hadn't threw the game away?
It's slightly less than 2-1, probably. With the same results with Caleb, yeah. It wouldn't be as big because Penix was the favorite going into the week, but I still would see that big shift. And then, it was a really big game for, national championship, Pac-12, everything. That everybody's eyes were on those games. Was on that game on Saturday, so definitely a big impact, and it's a fun market to book for sure.
All right, no more love for you.
All right.
All right, let's talk Caleb Williams. How far did Caleb Williams fall in the Heisman rankings?
He dropped 5 spots from plus 260 to 22-1. Obviously, a very tough outing versus a very good Notre Dame defense. And really, he's getting no help from his defense. Like, they struggled at both Arizonas, and really, they had no answer for Notre Dame on defense on Saturday. But I think one thing that goes in consideration, especially with Caleb being the reigning Heisman Trophy, is that voters are going to want to see more. You have to do extra to get that trophy again. And so unless he's perfect, that's why you see this dramatic odds shift down.
Yeah, just seems like too many players to have him go over. We mentioned all the players, and Jaden Daniels as well at LSU. There's another name to mention. I mean, it just seems like it's too much. I mean, people remember how you do in the big games. We mentioned the big impact that the Oregon-Washington game had on the Heisman odds. It's going to be tough to erase a memory of 3 picks and 199 yards against Notre Dame and get that out of people's memories. It's how you do in those big games, and Caleb Williams had a tough game, so I think it might, even at 22-1, can't really argue for justify a bet on him at this point. He's got a lot of work to do.
All right. Well, let's move on to some NFL. We are officially in Week 7, and I want to know what your updated NFL power rankings are after a wild weekend. We have 5-1 teams. Can you rank them? We have the Lions, Chiefs, Dolphins, Eagles, 49ers.
Do you want to do the 5-1 teams first, or do you want to do the update?
Yeah, let's do the 5-1 teams first, because my next follow-up is going to be if any teams with a worse record would be ahead.
Okay. So of the 5-1 teams, 49ers, Chiefs, Lions, Eagles, Dolphins in that order. However, in my top 5, it's 49ers, Ravens, Bills, Browns, Chiefs. No Eagles and no Dolphins.
Interesting.
Strong
You didn't
take.
see that coming, did you?
Yeah.
But I did say I did like the Ravens at the start of the year, and they're always there. My numbers are heavily favoured by defence, and remember what we said when Miami put 70 on. I take those numbers out. I make an adjustment.
Outliers.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Who's next?
I would say Niners, Chiefs, Eagles, Lions, and Dolphins, but I would think Buffalo, even though they've struggled the last couple of weeks, I still rate them above the Dolphins. Obviously, they obliterated them when they played a few weeks ago. So, and Ravens are also good. Their defense is solid. So, I can't fault Craig for putting the Ravens in the mix as well. But Buffalo would be the one team that I think is my number 4 or number 5 rated team above the Dolphins.
All 5 of these teams fell in my top 5. I have 49ers, Eagles, Chiefs, and then Lions and Dolphins tied for 4th and 5th. After that, I have the Bills and Cowboys after that. But yeah, they did fall within my top 5 going into this week.
No love for the Browns.
I love for the Browns. Get a quarterback.
All right. Well, okay. In your opinion, which loss was worse, the Eagles or the 49ers this past weekend?
For me, neither.
Neither.
Both losses were on the road versus non-conference opponents. They lost to marquee defenses in poor weather. If a push came to shove and I was forced to take one, it would probably be the Eagles because, the one that they couldn't really afford to lose because they've got a hammer house of horror of schedule coming. Dolphins Sunday, Washington, Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, 49ers, Dallas. And that record is 30-12, which is a 71% winning record. So it's not going to hurt them, but neither. They're both fine.
Neither, but if forced, Eagles.
Yes.
And I am forcing you both, so.
And I'll say the same thing, neither, but I'll say the 49ers, just because, they were 10-point favorites. After what they did to Dallas, everybody was saying, and with the Browns quarterback situation, everybody thought it was a fait accompli that they're just going to go into Cleveland and win. That didn't happen. Obviously, they had the chance. They missed a field goal at the end. Both teams were undone by missed field goals late. Jake Elliott, one of the most reliable kickers for the Eagles, he missed a field goal that would have put him up where the Jets would have needed a touchdown. So maybe the Eagles punt the ball instead of throwing it on third down. They could have ran the ball, make Zach Wilson come all the way down the field and score a touchdown to beat you. But obviously that didn't happen. But like Craig said, there's no surprises in the NFL anymore. Both teams have very good defenses. The Browns are a better defense than the Jets, I think. But put a gun to my head, I'll say that the Niners was the worst.
All right, Joey, you're the tiebreaker.
I said 49ers. And it wasn't a tie or anything like that. It was worse. Same thing with Adam said. They were down a quarterback, way bigger favor, way bigger high expectancy of winning. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong for that Niners team. Christian McCaffrey goes down. I mean, it was a mess. And then they missed the game-winning field goal, so I had Niners. But that was Niners by a mile. I mean, this Jets team again. It's a good defense. They play well. Niners worst loss.
The Browns' defense is far more superior.
Yeah,
than
they
the
are.
Jets.
They are.
So you cannot. I'm disagreeing with both.
It's fairness.
Look at
Still
the
neither.
Jets almost beat the Chiefs. They beat the Bills in week
Exactly.
1. So
All right. Well, speaking of the Jets, is it time to take the Jets seriously? Do you think they'll make playoffs, and how hard is it to make odds for that market?
Well, you run a simulation, and then you'll end up with predicted season wins at the end of the year. So right now I have them at 7.9 based on my numbers. We have them at over or under 7.5 wins on site at plus 115 to the over. So already you're in that lower echelon of getting in through the wild card, because I think 10 wins got you into the wild card last year. We have them plus 375 to make the playoffs. For me, they've got to win 2 of their next 3: the Giants, the Chargers, the Raiders, for me to take them seriously. They've got one quality win in bad weather, so I'm not buying it. And as a Dolphins fan, I can't take the Jets seriously.
Do you guys agree?
Yeah, no, I think it's the tale of two Jets. What week or which Jets are you getting? And that does help and hurt making odds for the market, because it helps with the variability, the randomness that could happen.
Yeah.
What Jets could show up, so that could help you. But it's also trying to get a pulse in the team and trying to predict what is going to happen for the rest of the season for them. So, it's right now. I'm not going to say they're going to make the playoffs, but I mean, it seems to be trending in the right direction. But of course, next week that could just all come down to shambles.
yeah, their defense has to lead them, obviously.
Yeah.
But they have some tough games. They play at Buffalo. They play Miami twice, at Cleveland. But they have some winnable games on their schedule. So if they hold serve and win a majority of those games, they could squeak in. Obviously, the odds say that they're not going to as of now, but that just shows the volatility of the league. We talk about it all the time, and how improbable results, we're going to shift the odds. This market is a volatile market from one week to the next. A big win over the Eagles, that's going to influence the odds tremendously. So it's not really a hard market to make odds for, but you can't be pig-headed and think, you have your mind set on how this team is going to be. You have to adjust how they're playing every week, and a win that not a lot of people thought they would get against the Eagles. That matters a whole lot, changes the odds dramatically.
It just shows you've got to have complete neutrality when setting these odds, because it's so easy to have a bias or a recency bias as well, unbeknown to what you're doing. So you got to look at the data and stick to it.
Speaking of bias, I will never take the Jets seriously. I'm just going to put that out there. Going to the 49ers, or back to the 49ers, how does Brock Purdy still have the third shortest odds to win NFL MVP?
Well, basically money. I mean, we took a large couple of bets on Brock Purdy before last week's game, around 5-1 odds. Now he's at 7. Obviously, the performance last week, 12 for 27, 125 yards, and interception. Didn't look good. McCaffrey, Debo got hurt. So obviously his odds were definitely going to go higher after those results. But we have to look at the liability. It's a huge liability. Our top 2 liabilities are McCaffrey and Purdy. So from our perspective, maybe if they both are candidates at the end of the year, they split the vote. But no, he should be up there. One game does not a season make. Like Craig said, it was in bad weather against a good team. So you can't rule him out and say that he should. His odds should be 20-1. I mean, it's only one game, so you got to cut him some slack.
Yeah, we took a $75,000 wager at plus 550. Purdy did his job. He got the team all the way down the field with an opportunity to win the game, and the kicker missed it. So it's not Purdy's fault. He doesn't kick the ball as well. But then when you look at all of those around him, Mahomes wasn't lights out Thursday, bad weather. Tua had a bye week against the Panthers D. Josh Allen wasn't great on Sunday night, and Hurts, Hurts had a poor game against another good defense, and McCaffrey got injured. So there's your top 7 in the bet. So nobody was lights out.
Right.
Don't blame the kicker, though. It's an easy target. I'll stick up for the kicker.
Lacey's out.
Fair enough. Let's move on to some defense. The defensive player of the year race is pretty tight right now. Can you break this down for bettors?
Yeah, no. It's right now it's a 3-way race between Micah Parsons, T.J. Watt, and Myles Garrett. Parsons is the favorite. And if you look at the stats, you could almost say he shouldn't be. But we talked about in weeks before where Micah Parsons, people were talking about being the MVP of the league. There was a lot of hype behind Parsons. Don't get me wrong, he's a great player. But, the hype and attention he gets, drives wagering. So we got he's a big liability for the MVP. I think, Caesars is safe in that regard. But he also got a lot of money on the Defensive Player of the Year market. So, but all those other players I mentioned, seem to have better overall stats than Parsons does. It's just that hype that he got is driving the markets, and he's our biggest liability for the market too. So that makes sense why he's the favorite right now. But in my mind, you can make a case. I think T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, you can even say Aiden Hutchinson too could be in the mix as well, more so than Parsons. But liability is a big factor, and he's our biggest by far. So, but this is a market that obviously could change, just like anything could change from week to week. But it should be a tight race.
Parsons plus 130, Watt plus 275, Garrett plus 300. Bosa leads Watt and Garrett in quarterback hits. Watt leads them all for tackles for losses. Watt beats them all for sacks. Watt has a touchdown. None of the other two do. It's obviously money as opposed to statistics, but you have to factor in both, don't you? For me, given how high I have the Browns rated in my numbers, Garrett would be the value of the 3, but it's tough. It's not an easy one, and you've got to survive injuries.
Right.
They're playing tough positions.
So what does Max Crosby have to do to get in this conversation? Because I'm really pro Max Crosby. Craig, I know that you
Get
probably
traded to the
have a
Browns.
thought. So is that it? Is that it? If you're not on...
Get traded to the Browns or the Jets,
Okay.
and then kick in his no trade clause.
Give Max Crosby the respect he deserves, in my opinion. Let's move on to the Bills. Adam, you had them in your top power rankings, but the past couple of weeks, they've been held to 20 points or fewer in 2 straight games, which isn't as notable as the Patriots and Giants' offensive struggles, but the Bills are supposed to be one of the top teams. What do they need to fix to get back to where they were when they played Miami?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, they've had some big games. The game against Miami, they rolled them, put up a ton of points, 48 points. Against Washington, obviously that's not a great defense. Put up a lot of points. They did against the Raiders as well, but they just had a few games. Obviously, it was probably the most surprising result. Just everything looked to be against the Giants. Probably even more so in a surprise, even though they won, than the Eagles or the Niners losing. I mean, it really, like we talked about last week, it's really hard to find a case with the Giants, but give the Giants credit, they hung in. But I think this might be a temporary blip. Josh Allen, now he's got a shoulder issue. He's going to play his guys a game or so. I don't think we have to worry just yet, but obviously their offense hasn't been as consistent as they would like. So we'll see. Things can change from week to week, as we always say. So I'm no offensive genius, so I've never been a head coach or an offensive coordinator, so I don't want to recommend.
So you want to give your tips?
No, I don't want to recommend anything. They don't need to hear from me. But yeah, I think it's just a temporary blip. Just give credit to the Jaguars and the Giants. Maybe they found something. We'll see if other teams find the same things in the weeks to come.
It's a 10-year low in scoring right now.
Right.
They're second in points differential, plus 84, so behind San Francisco. They clearly got impacted with the travel into London. We even said it last week, 6 of the last 8 teams they held in prime time to under 15 points, so maybe that's 7 out of 9 now. Look, as long as the defense stands firm, the Bills will be just fine. Mm-hmm. And if you want to ask a team about offensive struggles and which is better, defense or offense, ask the 1991 to 1994 Buffalo Bills team.
Okay.
All offense, no defense, and lost 4 straight.
We should invite them to next week's space, and
Yeah.
we can ask
Think
them.
they'll come?
Joey?
I think what I see this year, at least from visually, the Bills and the Chiefs, the past couple of years have just been the best offenses. Well, the league's catching up to it, and usually your Mike McDaniels, your Dolphins are the ones that are kind of taking it. So, what necessarily got you to the dance isn't going to keep you there. You got to innovate. You got to do it for them. I mean, not that I know how to, be an offensive coordinator or anything like that, but I think that's what it is. Is the league has known how big of a threat these two teams have been thus far, and they've spent off seasons to try to fix it, and it seems to be working. So,
Do we think they'll be back to form against the Patriots this week?
I'm actually cheering for your Patriots.
Are you?
sure there's no bias there.
The company will be cheering
Yeah.
for your Patriots. So.
Lovely. Okay, well, let's move on. Two former Super Bowl winning head coaches, Bill Belichick and Sean Payton, are both 1-5, the worst starts of their career, and the two worst records in the AFC. Is it safe to say their quarterbacks, Tom Brady and Drew Brees, were the reason for their success?
Well, I'll say eliminate Sean Payton. He's had 6 games in charge of the Broncos. The Broncos were a mess last year, so I'm taking him out of the equation. It's too early
He
to
gets
rule.
a free pass.
He gets a pass. Too early to
Okay.
rule on Sean Payton.
Fair.
But, look, I mean, Bill Belichick is, he's had one of the greatest quarterbacks, if not the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
There was going to be a point when Brady left, the microscope was going to be, well, how are you going to do? Great players make great coaches. And it's just, I think it's a struggle for people just to see that. I mean, it's a legit topic. But, I wouldn't say, well, now they're not as good, that he was overrated as a coach. You can't say that because a lot goes into the coaching, no matter how many great players you have. But, it's certainly, it's a quick downfall. But look, he's pretty much he rules the roost in New England. He's pretty much the GM. So it does fall on him. But there are a lot of other factors that go into it. But it's just weird seeing Bill Belichick in that position. But all good things must come to an end. So I don't know what to say. If I think you have to look at what he's done good. I don't want not me personally, but Patriots fans I don't think want these last couple of years to ruin his legacy. What he did was phenomenal. Doesn't matter. I mean, a lot of these teams have great players, and they don't win as many Super Bowls as Bill Belichick did. So I don't want to say that he's lost it or anything. Just things change. It's the nature of life and the nature of the game.
The game's changed. His players have changed. Go out on a high.
Yeah. You've said it before.
I've said it 5 times. As well, so.
Joey, do you agree with this?
Having two great quarterbacks certainly helps, but I think it's just times change. The league has changed. To what used to work doesn't always work now, so I think that affects both these coaches quite a bit.
All right, so who ends the season with a better record? Sean Payton or Bill Belichick?
Can I take the tie?
Yeah, you can take whatever you want.
I'll take the tie.
Ty.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. You guys cop out, but okay.
Not if we're correct.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Any week 7 notable bets or odd movements?
The 2 we gave last week went in the customers' favours. The Rams and the Lions both covered. This week, the most notable at the moment, 280,000 on the Saints money line for Thursday night.
I did see that.
Yeah.
You think they get it done?
We'll do that in the preview.
Fair enough. Okay, well then that's a perfect segue into our game previews. Thursday night football, we have the Jags versus the Saints. Who wants to start it off?
I'll kick it off. Game opened a pick. Picking 42, went to Jacksonville, the favorite, then went to New Orleans as high as -3. Now it's down to New Orleans -1. Obviously, this is all because of Trevor Lawrence. He got banged up late in the game against the Colts.
Yeah.
Obviously, the starting quarterback's health is going to move the line tremendously. Looks like he's leaning towards playing, but what strength is he going to be? That's the question. But look, Jaguars coming off two good wins. Saints offense hasn't looked that good. I think they've only scored 20 points once. The most points they scored was against the Patriots when they scored 34 points, shutting them out in Foxborough. So, Travis Etienne might get some more action, have him run the ball, lessen the load on Lawrence, and Etienne's looked great so far. So, the Saints offense, they've been struggling. So, even with an unhealthy Trevor Lawrence, still think the Jags should keep it close and could easily win. I mean, it seems like a coin flip game with all the factors thrown in there.
Yeah, I think both these teams, the way the offenses haven't super impressed me. And the Jags, I expected going into the season to be a really explosive offense. They really haven't shown me that they're that team. They're the Lions or anybody with that super. Trevor Lawrence, I think, means a lot to this team. Obviously, Etienne, great player. But the Saints, too, they seem to be up and down. Like, just that offense just kind of struggling, not getting there. So I'd say even, I wouldn't see this going 3 either way. It should be a good game. But it's hard to find out who's going to be the winner here.
Saints are 0-2 as a home favourite, and both of those games went under. I just think the Jags are quietly going about their business. You stay under the radar, just win your games, stay out of the limelight.
Sneaky.
Yeah, it's just it's a tough one to call. Yeah. At least, hopefully, we'll have a competitive Thursday game.
Yeah, this should be good.
Yeah.
That's all you can hope for.
Yeah.
I know we'll be big Saints fans tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, one of the most exciting matchups we've seen in the Sunday Night Football slot.
Me versus Adam.
You versus Adam, yes. We have Dolphins versus Eagles. I don't know if I want Craig or Adam to start it, or if I want to have
I'll defer.
Joey
Maybe I'll start.
jump in here.
This is the game of defense versus offense. The Eagles, their strength is in their defense. The Dolphins, the strength is in their offense. It's going to be a fun game in Philadelphia, Sunday night. Again, these are two of the top teams, both in my top 5 power rankings. Right now, Eagles 2.5, opened up 2.5, so it seems to be probably the right line. We could see some movement. And it'll be interesting to see where bettors go in this one because these are two teams that the bettors like to bet on every week. So it should be somewhat of two-way action.
It's been quite balanced already, the bet.
Mm-hmm. Eagles are banged up in the secondary, so maybe Tua is going to be throwing as much as possible. Line seems fair. It should, like Joey said, it's going to be interesting because these are two teams people have been betting on, how are they going to react. Sort of lessons, I think stands to reason that the betting action is going to be very close between the two teams. So, but line seems fair. Eagles coming off that tough loss last week. Dolphins have been playing well. Their offense is clicking, but what will they do against Eagle D? But that secondary of the Eagles, the injuries, it scares me. They could be in for a long night, so see if they can get some pressure on Tua.
You might be in for a long night as well, so you might want to switch your phone off.
Yeah, I will.
Should we make a group chat?
I think this tops the biggest handle of the game for the year so far. Easily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Look, you're looking at 2 of the top 5 in MVP betting. The 3rd and 4th favourites in Super Bowl betting. It's a 52-point total. 5 of the 7 50-point or more totals this year have gone under. The road team has won 6 of those 7. The only home winner was the Bills when they blew out Miami, and it went over. So it's a great matchup. Primetime unders this year are 14-6. As I said earlier when we were doing our rankings, I've got no faith in either defense. Phillies is the better defense of the two. Second in the league in rushing. Miami's got the number 1 rushing attack, so that'll cancel each other out. The 2 Alabama former teammates. Who replaced who? Was it Tua replaced Hurts in the championship game?
In the championship game.
Yeah, the championship game.
Yeah.
Half.
Hurts.
Good point.
There'll be motivation for Hurts for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Well, this is like the first Sunday Night Football game that I've actually been excited to watch, so.
Well, ask me after. 13 to 15 mile an hour wind, so there might be some deep passing. The deep passing attack might be a bit challenged at times.
All right. Well, moving on to Monday Night Football, we have the 49ers versus the Vikings. What should we expect?
A blowout, probably. The Vikings, they won the last game against the Bears. I saw half of that game. That was an ugly game. I mean,
Doesn't count.
It doesn't count. 49ers, obviously, Christian McCaffrey questionable right now. He's obviously the strength of the team. But I think the Niners are going to want to get back out here at 7-point favorite, road favorite. So that says a lot for how good this Niners team is. I think it's looking like it's going to be a blowout. At least from on paper, I think this Vikings team is a little overrated.
Yeah, well, we talked about it, I think, last week that the Vikings are not getting the results in the close games like they did last year. But their losses have been close. They could have beaten the Eagles. They could have beaten the Chiefs. Charger game could have gone in their favor. So I don't think they're that bad. I mean, but I think with Joey, I understand what Joey's saying. I think of any team that seems like they could bounce back, it's the Niners, just because they have that great defense, even without me. I don't know if McCaffrey's going to play, but Debo Samuel's hurt. Trent. I mean, they have some concerning injuries. But it's a big number for a road favorite on a Monday night. But the Niners, I have faith in just because, or any team that has a really good defense, I think they can overcome that. So, but yeah, the Vikings just aren't getting the luck they had last year as far as winning goes. But touchdown, could be juicy to some people. But yeah, we'll definitely be big Vikings fans come Monday night for sure.
Yeah, we will. Last 5 Monday nights have all gone under. The favourites on those are 4-1 against the spread, and interestingly, the Vikings are 6-0 first half under this year, all their games. Adam's got it right. All the money's going to come for the Niners. It's the Niners off an embarrassing loss against primetime Kirk, your boy. Yeah.
Kirk is your boy.
He's my boy, and I'm going to be cheering for him loud on Monday. I know.
All right. Next, let's play my favorite game. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
All right, we're going to play overreaction or not. This first one's kind of juicy. Overreaction or not, Aaron Rodgers will play again this season.
So in our football meeting on Monday, I ventured the question of should we put Aaron Rodgers back in the MVP betting market? And then the voice of reasons over here talked me out of it. I think it depends on the Jets' record. Adam said it perfectly correct the other day. Once we know he's 2 or 3 weeks out from playing again, or potentially playing, maybe we look at bringing him back in the market. But if the Jets have got a losing record and the playoffs are pretty much out of touch, why risk another season? So just heal up, get 100%, get ready for next year.
Yeah, I'd say not an overreaction, but going along if they're competitive towards the end of the season. I mean, he was on the field throwing balls, and
that's
crazy.
That is
a couple
crazy.
weeks out of surgery. It's insane.
If they're in playoff contention, 100% he plays.
Yes.
Right.
I would say even if they're not, he's going to try and play. Seems like he, likes to be the center of attention. He's a unique personality to say the least, and I think he would be glad to prove people wrong, regardless if they're in the mix or not.
Right.
That, hey, I'm going to come back from an injury where not many people or nobody has come back the same year. So I'm going to say yes. I think he's going to play.
Great.
Well, he'll do everything in his power to.
Yeah.
That was beautifully worded. He is a unique person. Overreaction or not, the Detroit Lions will break their playoff losing streak.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if their power ranking holds, they'll be favored in the game. So, I mean, it's obviously not easy task to win a playoff game, but this Lions team looks like they're for real. So I'd say not an overreaction.
Interesting, 2 years ago, a good friend of mine who's a hardcore Detroit Lions fan asked me for a price on will they not win a playoff game in the next 5 years. So I came up with 9-1. So that was 2 seasons ago. So I need them to win a playoff game because 9-1's a pretty chunky price. I'm going to ask if he gets a buy. If the Lions get a buy, does that count as a win? I think they can do it. The team's playing really, really well. The coach has got them going. They just seem to be well clicking.
Yeah, they're clicking.
It all depends who you get in the playoffs. It's a tough one. Obviously, you want home field. It's a wild card home game. It's different than going on the road in a divisional game. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're trending up. We saw this last year. We knew they were going to be improved, and they're proving it this year. They played well. Their defense is great. They started week 1 against Kansas City. But, sometimes you see, I'll look back at the Orioles, a team that hasn't been in the playoffs forever. They got in finally, all the excitement, and then they're out. So, we have a big Lions fan in our office, and he'll tell you there's no way they're going to, even if they get in the playoffs, there's no way they're going to win. But I'll say, they definitely have the quality to do so, but I'll say the losing streak stays. I hope it doesn't, though. I'd like to see the Lions do well. They deserve it.
I'm going to piggyback off you and say that I want them to break it. They're just so likable.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Agreed.
And I don't like anyone. So, overreaction or not, the Cowboys will win the NFC East.
Overreaction. Plus 150 to win the division. They've got the resurgent Rams and the Eagles the next 2 weeks. Then to close the season, they've got the Eagles, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Lions.
Yikes.
I think they would have to win 3 of those 6 games on paper to win the division. They've played one good team so far this year, and look what happened. So the answer is no, they won't win the division. Congratulations, Adam. Take the division.
Well, I hope you're right. Obviously, I'll say no that they're not going to win the division, but it's going to be close. I think you mentioned earlier the Eagles have a difficult schedule as well.
Yeah.
So no reason to think that it's not going to be close. But I'll say no. Obviously, I hope no, and I'll say no as well.
Yeah, I'd say no as well. It's the Cowboys. I mean, come on. But yeah, I think it will be closer because I think the Eagles have shown some vulnerability compared to last year. I mean, last year they were so good. They progressed a little bit, so it'll be closer. But I'm gonna still say no.
All right. Overreaction or not, the Panthers will go winless.
No, they won't.
So it is an overreaction.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll win a game. Bryce is getting more experienced. They've got a ton of winnable games on their schedule with teams with losing records. 7 of their last 11 games against teams 500 or less. No, they're going to win a game. They've competed too many times.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's too hard to not win a game. Like Craig said, their schedule, they have so many winnable games as the season goes on, and you think Bryce Young is going to improve as the season goes on. So I think they're definitely going to get a game or two.
So is it just as hard to go winless as it is to go undefeated?
It's much harder to go undefeated.
Yeah.
It's going.
Yes.
It depends who the number 1 pick is next year.
Fair.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good point. All right, well, let's get into some weekly game predictions.
Let's see. I'll start it out. Listen, it pains me to make this pick, but I'm going with Cindy's Patriots at plus 8.5.
Woo!
Divisional
Plus 8.5.
game,
You're
home
right.
dog. I'm going Contrarianville this week. I'm going with the Pats plus 8.5.
I love that for you, Joey.
Craig, go ahead.
I thought about Jacksonville, New Orleans first half under, but I'm going to go with Green Bay, Denver first half over.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to pick the game that has the most importance this week. I was going to go to college, but I figured I'll stay in the pro ranks. I'm going north of the border.
Oh,
CFL.
Oh, no.
Saskatchewan plus 9.5 against Toronto. Saskatchewan is in a battle with Calgary for the last playoff spot in the CFL. 2 more weeks, this week and 1 more. They're playing the best team in the CFL record-wise, which is Toronto. Playing at home, they're getting 9.5. Toronto has nothing to play for. Saskatchewan has everything to play for. They've lost the last 5, but some of the games have been close. I think in 4 of those 5, they've covered 9.5. Even though how good Toronto is, speaking of Buffalo, Jim Kelly's nephew, Chad Kelly, is a quarterback for Toronto, highest paid CFL player. He's going to play, I think, but how much is he going to play? They're saving up for the playoffs. Give me Saskatchewan plus 9.5 against the Argonauts.
I love the plug here. Guys, are we allowing Adam to get away with this pick?
It's not going to win, so that's fine.
This pays 11-10, just like any NFL spread does. So, what's the difference?
All right. Okay. I guess we'll allow it. Well, it looks like we're just about out of time. Thank you, everyone who joined and submitted questions for our talk with the traders. Thank you, Craig, Adam, and Joey. And if you don't already, please toss us a follow at Caesar Sports. This entire conversation will also be uploaded to YouTube tomorrow. You can see all of these guys' beautiful faces. It's such a sight to see. So we hope you tune in. We also hope you have a lovely weekend watching all these anticipated matchups. Guys, anything to say?
Windy days in Baltimore, New York, and New England this weekend.
Go Patriots.
Go Rough Riders.
All right, we'll end it there. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.